Okay, Mr. Chad Wade, a.k.a. Chad Money, a.k.a. Georgia's finest with Cornerstone Mortgage. We started this podcast, Chris, Bamp, and myself, because we were listening to podcasts where people were gurus, coaches, and people were talking about doing over 100 transactions or 50 or more transactions and not really putting the muscle behind the hustle. They didn't really have any proof in the pudding. So what we're doing is we're reaching out to individuals such as yourselves who are closing deals at a high level, keeping it real, AF, if you will. So that's kind of how we started this adventure and how the podcast became. So give our millions and millions of fans what they want to know is give us a little 2018, flashback of transactions you've had, total number of volume. Let people know that you're the real deal. You're real as F.
Well, cool, man. So first, just thanks for having me. It's an honor. You guys are all great. And so it means a lot that you reached out to me. First and foremost, dad. So got a beautiful wife, 3-year-old, 1-year-old, and a 17-year-old that I sometimes forget about, but she's almost grown at this point. And so, part of me is family first, and then just kind of kick butt when it comes to business. And that balance is always something that I work towards. Counterbalance is probably a better term, but in the business side of things, 2018, we ended up doing 207 transactions. So those are families helped. Right around a little over 59 million of lending volume. It was somewhere around 80 million of just real estate volume. And that would be my team. That's the Atlanta Home Loan team, which is my team that I run here at Cornerstone Mortgage Group. Now, the other hat I wear is I run Cornerstone Mortgage Group as well. We're a local mortgage company in Atlanta, Georgia. We did somewhere around 200 million last year in total volume as a company, around 900 families served. And our goal as a company is generally 1,000 families served a year for about 250 million. And so those were last year's numbers. This year, my goal, it's 250 families to the tune of somewhere around 70 million. And that's just me personally, again, the Atlanta Home Loan team.
All right, so those are some beautiful, badass numbers. The lender across the hallway just overheard and he fell out of his chair.
He's dead.
So what we need to get right now is, how did Mr. Chad Wade, what was year one? What did it look like? And how did you become the man that beat the man, right? So give us your entrepreneurial journey through what you are today.
Yeah, so Cliff Notes version. The story of me is just a story of kind of discipline and structure and continual movement forward. It wasn't something that happened overnight for me. It slowly, every year, you would see incremental 10, 15% increases. And it's just over time, you build the systems around kind of the business that you have, and you continue to move forward. And that's kind of my motto, is just keep moving forward. Every day you wake up, you get out of bed, you go to work, you keep moving forward. And that's really kind of how I've gotten here. And so I feel really blessed to do the business that I do. And there's days where I'm like, wow, whoever would have thought? And then when I ask myself, how did I get here? There's times where I'm like, I don't even know. And that's the truth. I don't want to make this seem like more than it is. It's all a culmination of me just continually trying to take steps to build my business step by step, day by day. And it's built up to this. And, for context, I started in the mortgage business in 2004. I started Cornerstone in 2006. And so I'm 13 years at this company. And so this is 13 years of building is what this is.
So what did year one look like?
Year one. So when I started the company, this is a cool story. Most people, when they start businesses, we start out of the basement of my house. I left another business and there were 4 people that came with me. We had phone wires hanging everywhere. And part of my plan with starting the business was like, hey, we're going to have some slow times at first as we build up. Like, what kind of reserves do I have? My reserves were, what is my balance on my credit card versus my limit? Right. Whatever that difference was, those were reserves. I had 8 credit cards at that time. And so I had about $40,000 of available borrowing power against my credit card. And I decided that, man, I've got plenty of reserves. We ought to be able to make this thing work. And so that was year one. Now, the cool thing about year one is within 6 months, we left my basement. We had business space. Like I never had to tap into my reserves. It all worked out. Back then, 2 to 3 loans a month. If I could close 2 to 3 units a month, that's a good month. I could make a little money. We could pay the bills and things worked. Incrementally over time, 2 to 3 units a month become 5 to 8 units a month, become 10 to 15, become 20. I mean, that's where we're at now. The goal now is, we need to hit 20 units a month.
Nice. So what did you do back then? I mean, was it very prospecting based?
Yeah.
And are you still prospecting based now?
Yeah, it was. So without going into a bunch of details, and I'm always happy to share, anybody that wants to reach out, I'll tell the 2-hour story anytime anybody wants to hear it. But when we first started, it was a lead-based business for us. I didn't know enough people to be able to drive the kind of volume that I wanted to. So lowermybills.com, eLeads was another one. Lending Tree, we were buying leads from all these places, and I was just calling them like a madman converting. It was a very different business back then. I honestly didn't enjoy it a whole lot just because it required just so much work on the front end. And then the output really wasn't that great. And a lot of times people would flake on you, and it was pretty deflating. You had to have really thick skin. And that created the space for me to grow the business that I've grown. As quickly as I was able to, I transitioned away from that type of business, trying to grow it more relationally and organically as I could. And so at first that meant 90% leads, 10% referrals. Over time, it meant 50% leads, 50% referrals. Now I'm 100% referrals. So it's just all based upon my sphere, the people I know. Now, some of the people in my sphere are those leads that I closed 13 years ago, right? In their brothers and sisters and moms and dads and families. And so that's been a big part of my business is, once I get my hooks in, once I'm able to demonstrate my worth and provide value, then I figure out, okay, well, how can I get that person to become an ambassador of me? How can I get them to tell other people about me and to buy into my business and what it is I'm trying to create? And so I've gotten pretty good at telling kind of my story of, hey, we're a small business. All of our business comes from word of mouth, from friends, families, business partners locally. So if you don't tell anybody about us, there's a chance I may go away one day. So please keep me in mind. People like to help. They do. I'm real big on local small business. Like, hey, support local small businesses. It matters. Like, my kids go to school right down the road. Like, when you support me, you're supporting them. Like, it's a big deal. And so, you've got to get buy-in, in my opinion, from your community around you. And if you do, big things can happen.
Yeah. It's good stuff. And I love the small business look at it too. That's what I kind of reach out to small business owners in my area. So you spoke on discipline and structure earlier, which kind of leads to like my next question as far as like, let's just say from the time Chad Money Wade wakes up, probably at 1 a.m., probably doesn't even sleep, look at him drinking coffee right there, the go-go juice. But from the time it's go time for Chad Money Wade to the time, like you close your eyes at night, what does a typical day look like for you?
It's not, I want to keep it real, right? This is realAF. It's not structured. Yeah. It's not as structured as you would. It is, but it's not. There are days I wake up at 5 a.m. And I'm on fire and I get to it. There are days that I'll get counterbalance. I'll sleep till 7:30 because I'm worn out. Mm-hmm. But what I always do is I get up and I go to work and I put, on a slow day, I'll put 8 hours in. On a long day, I'm putting 12, 13, 14 hours in. And so I've went through phases in life where there's a period where I ran a group called the Early Morning Crushers. And I got up at 4:30 every day for like 2 years straight. And that's when I started doing affirmations and gratitude in the morning and all that. It was a really awesome period of my life. I loved it. And then yet I also realized I was tired because it's not always easy to go to bed at 9 o'clock at night and wake up at 4:30 in the morning, especially when you have like a 17-year-old and heck, the sun barely goes down once daylight savings changes at 9 o'clock. And so I'm not so rigid anymore that I make myself do it every day. And yet I still do it at times. The discipline and the structure and the accountability for me is more discipline of did I put a full day's work in? right? So for me, that's the big question. That's the big, did you do what you were supposed to do today? Did you go to work and actually reach out to folks, love on your database, try to bring business in, or did you goof off? I don't generally goof off. Like I've just, thankfully that's not a challenge of mine. I don't have to worry about that. And so that's my structure. My structure is get up, put your shoes on, go to work, make calls, be productive.
So do you have like a checklist that you go off of? Because I mean, you said some, you said, did I love on my database? You said a few other things. Like, do you have, like you've heard Chad Himes before, but do you have like that one's type of win-one challenge that you do? Like, as long as you do these few things, like the day is one to you?
I'm going to keep it real AF for you. No.
Yeah. The way we do it, baby.
Man, that's twice in one interview. We heard the same tag. I like it.
Yeah. The answer for me is no. I think a lot of people need that checklist. I think they need that one thing that they have to do in order to make sure they do it. Again, I'm 15 years in. I know the items that have to be taken care of on a day-to-day basis. Like for me, priority number one is always going to be to handle the business I've already got. Okay. And so there's a good, and that goes against the model, right? Any book you read is going to tell you stick lead gen at the very top. Okay?
Right.
I don't. Because my business is based off kind of raving fans, delivering extraordinary service and getting referrals, my number one focus on my team is going to be making sure we deliver that level of service. Number two behind that for me is going to be the lead gen piece. Now, if I were 10 years backwards in my business where I was still building it up, it'd probably be the opposite. But because of where I am now, that's just my focus. And that's the message that I deliver to the marketplace. And frankly, that's where all my referrals come from. So whenever I'm in that space, it's not a bad space because I can always turn that service talk into a referral talk. Like I've gotten very good at that.
Yeah. And you've managed to grow. So, we had an agent on earlier that said whenever you just rely on referrals, it kind of stagnates. However, you've kind of gone against, I guess, like that typical model of, like working with the same number of people, the same amount, like the same number every single year. And you've just, like you said, grew 10 to 15% every single year. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So my biggest challenge is scaling. And it's really me. It's, the way we price mortgages, the service we offer, like they work. I started, and you guys know this, I started pushing for online reviews probably like a year ago. Mm-hmm. And the response I've gotten in the marketplace from just that, just the feedback. And sure, when you ask for a review, it's generally going to be kind of positive, but I've gotten like over the top positive stuff. Like I never thought a mortgage company could treat me like this. I never thought service could be this good. That kind of feedback is what you want, because whenever you can make people feel that way, that's where the referral model works, right? If it's, hey, I did my job, send me a referral, you may or may not get a referral. But it's that raving fan. You can go ahead and deliver a level of service that the other person didn't think was possible, right? So if you can wow them, then that's when you've made an impression. That's when people remember you, and that's when you can really grow the business on that side. So if you're going to live in the referral world, you've got to wow people. That's the message.
Love that.
How do you? I mean, what is your wow? I mean,
back rubs.
Back rubs?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm leaving out?
Yeah, you read my book. No, so it's everything from, I hate to say 24-hour service, but that alone right there, just immediate responsiveness to the tune of where people don't think. I'm texting last night at 8 o'clock. I have to tell a client, hey, we got to pause because I'm having dinner with my family. And then I get them the pre-approval last night at 9:30. It's, we do, as opposed to ever making people not know what's going on. So the number one complaint about loan officers is I can't get them on the phone or I don't know what's going on with my loan. So I created a team. So I'm a little bit different in the mortgage space. Real estate agents have been doing teams now for probably the last 7, 8, 9 years. In the mortgage world, teams are relatively new. But we've got Ashley, who sits right behind me. She answers all our incoming calls. So I don't ever want any of our clients, hey, Ashley, stick your head up.
What up, Ashley?
They're keeping it real.
Keeping it real, man. So she answers the phone. So no client ever goes to voicemail on my team. So you will never call and get a voicemail here, right? And so that doesn't happen in our space, right? In the world of real estate or mortgages, generally you're going to expect to get a voicemail every once in a while. You don't get a voicemail here. Secondly, we've got another guy, one down from Ashley, Dre, on our team that helps manage everything we've got in process. So all of our pendings. He proactively reaches out every week And the key word being proactively, just to give our clients an update. They might not even have an update, but part of his job is to reach out every week to give them an update about what's going on. Sometimes that update is, hey, nothing new has happened, but I just want you to know that we still got our eyes on this and that everything's going great and you're in good hands. Little things like that start to add up. And then the other piece is I've gotten good at telling this story. So I'll tell people all this up front. I'll say, this is what we're going to do that's going to wow you, because my goal is to create a raving fan out of you. Because by the time this is all done, I want you to be an ambassador for me. I want you to tell your friends and family about you. This is how our business works. And so these are the raving fan things that I do. Now there's more to it. I mean, we can go on and on and on, but it's a whole lot of that.
Yeah, well, that's great stuff too, though. Let's see. All right. So, I mean, I don't know if you've touched on this, but I mean, what made you choose the mortgage industry? You know, what was it about it? Was it like, man, the money? I mean, sometimes, or was it?
Yeah, with 8-year-old Chad Wade walking around thinking about, damn, if I could just get a desk and do some loans.
Yeah.
When your friends want to be firefighters and you want to be a mortgage loan originator.
So this is great. So getting into this thing, like I had no clue what it would be or where it would go. I graduated University of Georgia, go Dogs, and I got into risk management. And so I interviewed really well. I'm like 22 years old. I get this corporate insurance job selling to Fortune 500 companies, $1 million premium and up. I'm barely growing facial hair at that point. I'm calling on CFOs and controllers. And
Hell yeah.
Thankfully, I had a salary because I did terrible. Nobody wanted to talk to me. Nobody wanted to play golf with me. It's like, who's this kid? And so because of the salary, I stuck around for about 2.5 years. And then finally, I'm like, this isn't going anywhere. Like, they're paying me, but I'm better than this. And so the next step was, well, what am I going to do then? And because of just being green, I felt like corporate sales it just wasn't time yet. Like I needed to kind of go ahead and prove myself a little bit in some other place. So I felt like B2C might work better. And real estate was always fun to me. And yet I've always had a knack for numbers too. And so, I mean, that was literally it. My brain was like, I like real estate, but I like numbers too. Maybe I'll just do mortgages. That way I can deal with regular, you know, I've always connected with people. So it was like, you know, if I'm just talking to the neighbor next door, like I can do that. I can talk to them. I can help them. And they're not a CFO that, you know, is going to be too busy for me, right? They'll give me the time of the day. And so that was the thought. So I was like, all right, I'll get in the mortgage business and I'll figure it out and I'll be able to make a living doing it. Yeah.
So you were talking about affirmations early on. It's a big hot topic right now coming back up.
Yep.
Do you think that those are worth doing? I mean, is that is it worth it, man? I mean, do you feel like it was a factor in your success? And, you know, is it the fact that you're doing the affirmations, or is it the fact that you're the type of person that would do them that's just going to be successful anyway?
Yeah. It's in my opinion, so it's not so much the affirmations. Like affirmations to me are self-talk, right? We've all got a story we tell ourselves in our heads. And that story dictates our life and the direction of our life. And so to the extent that you can control the story that you tell yourself and your mindset, I think it's going to control the trajectory of where you go and kind of how your business does, your family life, all these things. And so to me, affirmations are huge. All I'm doing is just verbally acknowledging the thoughts that are in my head and the things that I want. Okay. Now I'm very intentional about making sure that I avoid negative self-talk. And I avoid negative affirmations. I just don't want those to get stuck up there. Do they come out? Yes, I'm human, like 100%. And yet I believe in the power of the subconscious, like immensely. Like I think that it is running your life more than any of us know. And I believe that there are opportunities for us to kind of get into that subconscious and program it. And I think affirmations are a way to do that. You're
right.
thinking.
So to dive into that a little bit deeper, so tell me, what's your mindset look like day in and day out? So you're 15 years in business, do the same thing every day, anywhere from 8 to 12, 13 hours a day. What motivates you, and what's the mindset behind, you know, you're doing the affirmations and your outlook on things? What's that look like for you?
Mindset is good. I mean, for me, it's always, I want to deliver value. I want to help. A lot of what I'm doing now is I want to feel like I'm making a difference, like to create a legacy. Like for me, it's the achievement more now. I just feel like I'm capable of so much.
So good.
That I don't want to leave anything on the table. So that's what drives me at this point. It's just my biggest challenge is scale. Like, why haven't I scaled more? Why isn't there a Chad 2.0 and a Chad 3.0 that this Chad 1.0 is directing, and we're scaling kind of our pricing and our service, and we're doing it. And so, again, I'm human. So mindset is a challenge for me. There are times where I get down, I get frustrated. And yet, I don't know. I've always been, my mom gave me, I love my mom to death. She gave me Anthony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within when I was like a junior in high school. I got it. I'm like, what is this? And she's like, you need to listen to this. Like, this is gonna change your life. And I didn't listen to it until like my junior year of college. For some reason, I hung on to it though. Like, I kept it. Like, I moved from dorm to dorm and all these places, and I'm always toting this thing around. And then one day I get it, and I've walked on fire now with Tony Robbins. Like, I'm a big Tony Robbins guy. It hit me. It was like, boom. Like, I'm like, this is it, man. Like the power of thinking, the power of just projection, the power of all these things are so important. And so you're not going to find me. Let me take that back, because this is real AF. 90% of the time, you're not going to find me in a bad mood, or you're not going to find me projecting anything negative. I don't have space for it. It's not positive energy. It doesn't help. Now, 10% of the time I'm normal, right? And usually it's always like an escalation of one little thing, boom, I blew up. And then it's like, what are you doing? Really in, Chad? But huge emphasis on kind of mindset and just positive energy, man. You're either putting out good energy or bad energy. And you've got to be careful, because whatever it is you put out, you're going to get back. And so anytime you get in that negative space, man, you're going to get negative right back. You just have to realize that. We've got to be smart enough to understand that we control our environment, and the energy we put out is the energy we get back.
Amen.
How are you pushing that out? I mean, somebody's pulled in front of you this week, right? Or something has happened, right? So what, have you done it for so long now that it's just whatever, or
yeah,
do you keep reminding yourself? I mean,
to the extent that I can control it, I control it. So here's an interesting thing. In Atlanta, we've got this highway called Georgia 400 that it's crazy, man. It's always backed up. The highway that goes on to 400, 285, there's like a line of cars that get onto 400. And for the longest time, I would do that, and I would get upset every day. And I was like, it became a game. I was like, how am I going to not get mad at all these people cutting in front of me over and over and over again? And at best, I was 50% successful. At best. Like, literally, I just couldn't break it, man. I kept getting pissed off. Like, honking horns. Like, I'm speeding up not to let the next guy over because he's trying to cheat everybody. So, and I'm going somewhere with this. I don't take Georgia 400 anymore. I do back roads. So sometimes you just have to, if you can't fix it yourself, you just have to pull yourself out of the situation. You've got to remove the negative energy kind of from your world. And so I think the answer is you do your best to kind of work through it. And then sometimes you just have to move on and say, you know what, this just isn't working. That's okay. I'm going to go a different direction. Right. And I literally did that.
So Chris asked this in a different interview, and I really like this question. And it is, what would today's Chad Wade tell year one Chad Wade?
Loosen up a little bit. Don't be afraid to take some chances. This is the same thing I would tell myself today. Like fear controls so much of what we do. You know what I mean? Like it really does. And we don't realize, but the majority of us have this huge safety net underneath us between family and good friends, and even kind of our society, like financially. The bankruptcy laws in our country are just wonderful to where they favor entrepreneurs, people who take risk. And so, you know, if I were able to tell my younger self, or either myself today, anything, it would just be, take some chances, man. Like, go for it. Like play big, stop playing small. Because that's what fires me up. Now, not everybody's wired like I am, but that achievement thing is the thing that really drives me. And the only way I'm going to be able to achieve these big things is to take bigger and bigger chances. So I would say just, you know, be smart, be strategic, but think big.
So
Go ahead, man.
I was going to say, speaking of think big, explain to everybody who's watching this what that wall is over there, because it looks like there's a ton of pictures of houses. It looks pretty big to me. What does that mean?
Yeah, so that is these are our family's help this year. So it says above it, I don't want to mess this thing up as on it, but so here it is. It says above, from our heart to your home. And that's kind of the mentality. You know, we're helping families every time we close a loan. But every time we close a loan, you know, we take a picture of that family at the closing, or we take a picture of their house, and we put it on a board. And so this is the game board. There's 250 homes on here because this year that's our goal. And so hopefully at the end of the year, you'll see this board full of houses, and you'll actually see some extra ones piled up on the sides, because I
love it.
Well, and Chad Himes, a good friend of mine, he may not love that, because, you know, you're not supposed to hit your goals, but that's something I'm still working through.
Yeah, we'll have that conversation with Chad.
Yes, that is something I'm still working through.
So what I was going to ask a second ago, with Zillow and Realtor and all the internet lead gen going on right now, what, as far as positioning yourself and then agents for that relationship, what advice do you have to give as far as getting something like that going with, you know, a lender that somebody may have out there, or a lender that's going in? Like what does that professional relationship look like? Is that a good route to go? Is there a better, you know, way to spend that money?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a better system? You know, what's your take on that, if you understand the question, if I explained it right?
I think I do. I think you're saying, do I believe in the Zillow model? Like, or something similar, Commissions Inc., Boomtown.
Because I mean, agents are always looking for, like, okay, sweet, well, maybe I can hook this lender or get them to help out with my ad spend and share costs and make it a win-win. So how do you make it a win-win?
So I'm not, strangely, I'm not completely against it. It doesn't even matter to me that Zillow's in real estate mortgages now, right? If they feel a need for you that you need, then I would say use them. Use them the same way they're going to use you. Now, as quickly as you can move away from them, move away from it. Don't use them anymore. But if they fit a need, use that. And so if I were a new agent getting in the business, I would start exactly the way I started in the mortgage business. I would figure out, how do I get the best list of people to call, right? And is it Zillow leads? You know, where's it coming from? And I would pound the phones as much as I can. Now, I would also be, as quickly as possible, trying to transition my business into kind of more referral based, like a sphere. So on one hand, I would have all these leads that I'm figuring out, where am I going to get them from? Is it Zillow? Is it Boomtown, Commissions Inc., et cetera? On the other hand, I'd have a list of everybody I know and all the business owners I know. So all my friends, all my family, and then how do I start connecting with business owners? And I would work both at the same time. I would have the time where I made my calls, and then I would have my time where I just loved on that sphere and just let them know just what I was all about. And, you know, energy is an amazing thing, man. People in your sphere, they don't have to need to buy real estate right now to be in a relationship with you to help you, right? They may know somebody else. And if you're able to add value to their lives and get into a relationship with these folks, it works. Like, it really does. But it's got to be a real relationship. It can't just be, hey, I'm getting into real estate, I'm getting into mortgages, send me business, right? It's got to be more of, what can I do to help you? This is something I'm fired up about. You know, almost no expectations. And yet at the same time, I would love it if you could help me, right? There needs to be a sincerity about the way that you treat your database. So that's how I would do it. I would do both. But I'm not against, as you're growing your business, I'm not at all against Zillow or any of those lead platforms.
So we've got like 10 minutes left, because we're trying to respect everybody's time and keep it tight for you. So what, we know you're huge on books, big book reader. What's the best thing that you read last year? And then, you know, what are some of your go-tos that you would recommend to everybody?
Best thing I read last year. The one that resonated the most with me, I'm not going to say it was the best, it was Chop Wood, Carry Water. It's small power parable. And it's just about the basics. The reason it resonated with me is I kind of feel like that's a mantra for me. Every day, and the idea behind the book is there's this guy, he's learning to become a samurai, and he goes to school, and there's almost like a Mr. Miyagi, But, you know, the guy wants to like learn, you know, he wants to fight and do the swords and do all that. And the guy's like, no, you need to chop wood and carry water. That's part of being part of this group. And that's what you do. And, you know, every day you wake up, you chop wood, you carry water. And so through that, he kind of learns the lesson and becomes a master. That's the one, man. For me last year, that one just stuck because I finally kind of figured out my recipe for success. And my recipe has just been just get up and do it every day. Like every day is not a 100, like on a scale of 0 to 100. Like there's days where I have 85s, right? But every day is at least an 80, like 100%. And if you keep having 80 days, and then sometimes you have 100 days, and sometimes you have 95 days, and you do that exponentially over time, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, there's nowhere you can go but up. Like it's going to happen. It is. So that'd be the one from last year. The other one, I mean, this is an oldie but goodie, man, but I just love Covey, man, Stephen Covey. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've got those habits memorized. I mean, and I've memorized them because I think they're so important that everybody should memorize them, honestly. And so that would be, if you haven't read that book, it's a tough read. I'll say that. It's a tough read, A, and B, it's a little better with Audible, not a whole lot. And yet you need to get through it one time. You do. And then focus on the actual habits and what each habit means and kind of what he wanted when he taught this. I mean, it's huge, man. I mean, it is huge. It is like a blueprint for success.
What's one question that we didn't ask that we should have asked?
One question you should have asked that you didn't ask. Yeah, well, maybe counterbalance. Like, what does that look like? Here's a good question. Why are you working 12 hours a day?
Hey, Chad, let me ask you, why are you working 12 hours a day?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Solid.
My challenge, I haven't scaled nearly well enough. What's weird is I got into business, like it used to be a badge of honor. It was the coolest thing. Like I could outwork anybody and I loved it. I was like, man, I'm a stud. Now the older I get, I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like you got here first, you're leaving last. Like you got 3 kids at home, beautiful wife, great house. I'm working through that. I don't recommend, I'd say early on, we all need to hustle. I don't recommend anybody do that long term, and me included. And so I'm proactively working on fixes for that because it's just, as much as I want to create a legacy with the work that I do, I want a bigger legacy as a father and a good husband and all these other things. And so
money.
Yep.
What's one thing that you like, the one thing that you really contribute to your success as a mortgage loan originator in the last, X amount of years? What's that one thing for you that defines Chad Wade's success?
It would be, I'm not going to tell you that the mentality of keep moving forward, chop wood, carry water, because we've already talked about that. Okay. But that's huge, right? Just waking up every day and doing something. Okay. And doing something meaningful. The other thing though, is I've been blessed, and I really do think this is a blessing. This is going to sound a little egotistical. It's not, but I feel like I'm able to connect with people. Like I come across fairly unassuming, I think, which I'm okay with. I think it works to where people open up to me and I can have genuine conversations. And when you can connect with people and get to know folks and find out what makes them tick and they know what makes you tick, and you can express to them kind of what fires you up and what interests you and where you're pouring your energy into, and you can get that kind of stuff out of them, relationships happen. So my ability to like just create these relationships by connecting with folks, it's been huge. It has absolutely been huge.
That's so money.
Yep.
So since we're going to wrap it up, where can everybody reach you? Give us your info, give us a rundown here. How can anybody that's wanting to reach out to you get to you, man?
Yeah. So my cell number is public, 404-550-1831. That's my personal cell. Now, you call me in the middle of a work day, there's a good chance Ashley's going to answer it, because if I'm having an interview with you guys right now and you call me, obviously I can't take it, but I don't want you going to voicemail. So you actually get somebody that answers. Email is just cwade, CWADE, at cmghl.com. So, and if there's anybody out there that needs a mortgage, I got a really easy to use pre-app. It's mobile device friendly, iPhone, Android, and it's at applywithchad.com.
And that's Georgia. Any specific Georgia? Or is it all of Georgia? Or is it all of the nation? Chad, where are you at? Where do you cover?
Great call, bud. It is right now, it's just Georgia. We used to be in the Southeast. I wear all the hats around this place. I got tired of dealing with compliance with all the other states. So for now, it's Georgia. And yet I got a lot of cool buddies in some other states that make me want to expand this thing a little bit. So who knows what the future holds.
Awesome.
And Nashville and Knoxville, that's where it's at, buddy.
Hey, and Chad, before we close out too, we're trying to make this a big thing. We keep forgetting about it, but we're getting every top producer that comes in on the show for the millions and millions of our fans to give us a Ric Flair clap, clap, woo, okay?
I love it, man. I love it.
All right. So let's go. 3. That's it. That's perfect. That's all we needed. Yeah, that's exactly.
We're good, man. We don't have to do that. That's money.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it.
Hey, thanks for keeping it real, man.
No, you guys are great. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, brother.
All right, guys. See you.